Welcome to Linux on the PlayStation 3. That's what you're looking at right now. That's what's on your screen. This is Fedora Linux running on my PlayStation 3 video game console. There she is. This PlayStation 3 is jailbroken and downgraded. I'm running firmware 3.15. I'm using a official Sony firmware, and I'm using a DEX, or a debug version of the firmware. So, if you're curious, that's how my PS3 is set up. As you can see, I've already got a USB drive sticking out the front of the PlayStation 3. That's got my installer for Fedora ready to go. I'll show you where to download the installers that I use. Anyway, yeah, I know it may not look it, but this Linux installation is getting kind of well, it's getting to be about time for a refresh, to start from scratch again, and that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to show you all my tricks on how to install Fedora onto the PlayStation 3 and get it set up and running really nice, just like mine. All right, enough of this happy horse shit. Let's close up my terminals here. Alright, now I'm going to switch over to my laptop where I'm doing my recording for this video. Right here. Okay, yep. Alright, this is my laptop. I'm also running Fedora here. Obviously, this is the modern Fedora, but I use the same, like, did you notice I use the same layout for my desktop? I use the window manager open box, and the panel at the bottom I use tint 2. It's the same setup I have on the PS3, same exact. Okay, first thing we're gonna do, I guess, is let me show you where to download the installation media. I'm going to search for Fedora Project Archive. And you're going to want Fedora number 12. That's the latest Fedora release that installs on the PlayStation 3. If you try any later ones, which I have, it just freezes on boot. It doesn't work. So you're gonna want the PPC or PowerPC edition, and here's the ISOs. Now, I mentioned that I already have one of these ISOs burned to a thumb drive, and it's already in the PlayStation 3. That's this one, the net install ISO. It's a very small image. Basically, all it does is all it's there for is to connect to the network, and you can use this ISO to install your Fedora over the network, which is what I'm going to be doing tonight. But I do have to download this one still. This is the install DVD. So I'll just I'll save it to downloads directory. This one is 3.5 gigabytes, so yeah, I guess that's going to be downloading for a minute. Okay, well, while that's downloading, let me show you. Let me give you a little introduction to, in case you don't know how to do it, setting up an NFS server, since that's how we're going to be doing our install. So I'll go to a terminal, and okay, so what is NFS? NFS stands for Network File System. It's part of the Linux kernel, pretty much, and it's actually one of the oldest parts of the Linux kernel. It's been a part of Linux for a very long time. It's how Linux computers share directories with each other, basically. And what you can do with NFS is you can select a directory on your system and choose another computer on the network that you want to share that directory with, and you can set that up, and it's actually quite easy. There's one config file. I'll show you mine. It's /etc/exports. See, I only have one entry in my file. This is the syntax. This first part here, /srv/deploy, that's the directory that you want to share, right? That's the one that you want to share with the other device. And then here, where it says PlayStation.ps3Linux.net, that's the host name of my PlayStation 3 on my network. You can substitute that for just the IP address of, your own PlayStation 3 on your network. And then this last part in parentheses, very important. There's no spaces here. Alright, no spaces, it just goes right to the parentheses. It says RO, that stands for read only. It's because we're sharing a DVD ISO. It's by nature it's not writable, so it's RO stands for read only. That's the configuration for your NFS server. Now, if you don't have your NFS utilities installed, then on Fedora it's sudo dnf install NFS utils. Well, it's obviously I've already got NFS utils installed on my system, so nothing to do. Okay, so once you have your NFS utils installed, you can do sudo system ctl NFS .service. Oop. Oh, whoopsie daisy. New status. NFS server .service. Okay, so my service is installed, but it's not currently active. See, it's dead right now. So I'll show you how to turn it on. Let me see if my file's downloaded yet. Okay, good. Perfect timing. We've downloaded the Fedora 12 install ISO. Now, remember how in my NFS setup, the directory that we're going to share is /srv/deploy. That's the directory we're sharing with the PlayStation 3, or that we're going to share. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mount that ISO that I just downloaded for Fedora install DVD. We're going to mount that, and the mount point is going to be that directory. So we'll be able to access the contents of the ISO. It'll be in my downloads directory. There it is. So to mount this ISO to our shared directory, it's going to be sudo mount. T for type is ISO 9660. That basically means it's a DVD. See, O for options, we're gonna call it RO. You can also write loop here. That's very common, but I usually put RO for read only. Either or, doesn't matter. And the file is Fedora 12 PPC DVD, and the mount point is going to be /srv/deploy. Okay, it looks like that was successful. We can double check. Let's list the contents of that directory. If this ISO is mounted, then we'll see the contents of the install DVD. /srv/deploy. Yep, there it is. There's the contents of the install ISO DVD thing. And yeah, this is what's inside this ISO file. All right. Now we can we've prepared our directory. We can start sharing it with the PlayStation 3 over the network, and we can do that by running sudo systemctl enable now NFS Server.service. Alright, that's all there is to it. We are now sharing the install DVD over the network with the PlayStation 3. Now the PS3 should be able to access the install DVD, no problem. All right, so I can close that. Let's switch back over to the PlayStation 3. Okay, take a good look, because it's gonna be a little while before we got the GUI back up and running. You know, full-fledged installation takes a little while on the PlayStation 3. There's a lot of steps. All right, I'm just gonna reboot it. Obviously, I'm not outputting the HDMI signal to the screen at the moment. I've got YouTube on, or I've got, you know, that's YouTube that we're looking at. I'm just not watching a video at the moment. But you see that little thing with the red light on it? That's a splitter. It's splitting my HDMI signal. Oh, whoopsie-daisy. I didn't get there in time. It's gonna boot into Linux. I have to reboot again. Yeah, there's a countdown timer on the, you know, you only have so long to pick a kernel, or to hit the keyboard before it just auto-selects your last booted kernel. Anyway. Alright, let's try that again. I was too busy blabbing. I missed the part where I had to select a different kernel. Well, yeah, what you saw there was PHAT, the Linux bootloader for these old PowerPC distros. And you'll see it come up again in a second. There it is. This is PHAT. This is available for download from my website, along with, you know, all the firmwares and stuff that I use to get my PS3 set up the way it is. But yeah, one of the things that you can download is this bootloader, and the way you install it is there's a setting in your settings menu in GameOS that says install OtherOS. That's where you install this bootloader. You can install it off of a DVD. Well, actually, yeah, a DVD or a USB. Anyway, these kernels up here that all say Fedora, those are all kernels that are, you know, part of my installation. Two of these I built. And these here, Linux 64 and Linux 32, those are the two bootable kernels, or, you know, the two bootable options that are on the USB stick. So these are the ones that we're interested in. We want Linux 64, but don't hit enter. Instead, you're going to hit E to edit the arguments. Here where it says RO, these are the arguments for the kernel. You're going to add a second one. You're going to add one that says VNC. This is going to let us access the graphical installer, the graphical Anaconda, which we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. You could still install it without install Fedora 12 without doing this, but you're going to be stuck with the text only Anaconda, and believe it or not, you actually get less options when you do it that way. It forces you to select a lot of defaults, which is not optimal. So yeah, just type in VNC here as a second argument. Now you can hit enter and enter again, and that kernel will boot. Okay, here is our Anaconda. Anaconda is the name of the Fedora installer. It's gonna ask us a couple stupid questions. Here's where we select our installation vector, and we're gonna pick NFS directory. Now it's going to want to connect to the network. Now this is a glitch right here, what you're seeing. This is a glitch in the Anaconda installer on the PS3. For some reason, it never finds the Ethernet card the first time it searches. Like the first time it looks, it always fails. So that's what I'm waiting for it to do at the moment, is to fail. But it always works on the second attempt. So. Now, one of the options that it gave you is for the WLAN. Yeah, here it is, WLAN. We're gonna try that one this time, and it'll find the Ethernet card. I don't know if this installer will work with a wireless installation. Now see, it found it. That's how it always. That's how it. That always happens. Yeah, I've never tried doing this installation. Like using the PS3's Wi-Fi network card, though. My PS3 is always plugged in to the Ethernet. I should experiment with that one of these days because I could probably help other people, you know, who don't have a setup like mine, where the PS3 is like right next to their router. You know, not everyone's that lucky. Anyway, it's asking us for the server name. That's going to be the IP address of, you know, whatever computer is running your NFS server. So for me, it's my laptop. And that's the IP. And remember the directory that we're sharing, /srv/deploy. Now, if we did everything right, and if our server is up and running, then when we hit OK, it should find the install media. Yep, there it goes. Running Anaconda 12 dot something. I'm sorry the font is so small. I can't change that at the moment. I promise. Things will get much easier to read very soon. Now, if you can read what it says at the bottom, it's basically telling you its own IP address and how to connect to it with a VNC client. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch back over to my laptop. Now, you have to use a VNC client. I use one called Tiger VNC. It's also available from the Fedora repositories. In fact, I think it's available on all distributions. It's very popular. So I'm going to run Tiger VNC. And make sure my options are... I want it windowed. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to connect to... Again, this is... If I... Here where I typed in PlayStation, that's the same thing as me typing in the IP address. 192.168.1.9 for the PS3. It's just on this particular computer. I've got it aliased to PlayStation. And we're going to add a :1 at the end because that means we're connecting to screen number 1. And hit connect. And there it is. This is our installer, Anaconda, running off of the PlayStation 3. And we can control it from here. You definitely, if you have the wherewithal, you definitely want to do the installation this way instead of using the text installer, which is what you would have to use otherwise, without using VNC. Because like I said, you get a lot more options for how you want to do the installation. And you could do a much better installation, in my opinion, than the default the default options. Okay, it's going to ask us for our time zone. It's fine. That's our root password. Notice that this installer does not set you up with a user account, that's your own responsibility. You have to do that yourself. So yeah, after the installation, we're gonna only have a root account. So for the partitioning the hard drive, I'm gonna choose create custom layout. Now it's the PS3's hard drive is already partitioned the way that I want it. I'm not going to be making any changes. I'm just going to be formatting, the partitions that I need to format. Like this one. This is going to be root. Root partition. Let's see, this one here, this is a spare partition, a spare 20 gigabyte partition. I want to use this one for experimenting with other operating systems and kind of building my own. I'll probably be doing a Linux from scratch attempt on this partition, and when I do, I will probably do it live on stream, because that's always fun. Anyway, for a mount point, I'm going to pick /MNT PS3DA2. That's fine. And go ahead and format that one. This one here, this is 2 gigabytes large, and that's going to be our swap space, so we're going to format that one. Now, there's one more huge partition right here, PS3DA5. This is the partition that I share over my network with my other computers. This is my NFS share, and I use it as network attached storage. So I'm not going to format this one because I got a lot of crap on there, including my website, ps3linux.net, which is down right now because my PS3 is currently kind of out of commission, obviously. This one is going to be mounted /media /PS3 NAS. And I'm going to stay far away from that format button because I do not want to format this drive. Alright, now our partitioning is complete. Let's go to the next part. Oh yeah, it's got a format and everything. This doesn't take very long. Let's see. This drive, PS3DA1, or this partition, if I remember right, I think that's a 50 gigabyte partition. The drive itself, the full size of the drive in the PS3 is 1 terabyte. It's got a 1 terabyte SSD. Oh, and by the way, if you're going to be doing Linux on your PS3, I highly suggest you get a SSD. It's so much better experience than a mechanical hard drive, in my opinion. It's not really my opinion. I mean, I can benchmark it and I can show you. It makes a huge difference on the PS3, I think. We're going to customize our installation, obviously, because we don't want all the crap that Fedora is going to try to make us install. So no GUI desktop, not at the moment. We're going to install that later. As a matter of fact, go through every list, each and every one, and everywhere you see a check mark, get rid of it. Okay. like so. Get rid of that, get rid of that. You know, when I said that we're going to be doing a minimal install, I meant it. And languages, there's nothing here to deselect. So yeah, I deselected every checkmark that I could possibly deselect. We're going to be doing, you know, just the bare bones, the barest of bones installation. One of the nice things about doing a very minimal install, like the way that we're doing right now, is the installation goes very quick. This will be done in like less than 10 minutes, I'd say. I've actually experimented with doing, you know, huge bloated installs as well, like when I was more newer to Linux on the PlayStation 3, especially when I was using like Yellow Dog. You know, I would you know, load up my system with all kinds of crap. But I find that this method of a very minimal installation and basically just adding packages as you need them is far superior. Is a far superior way to go than, you know, installing a whole bunch of crap up front that you're probably never going to use. Fun fact, this is the same install procedure, basically exactly, as I use on my modern computers. You know, I run Fedora on all of my machines, basically. And yeah, when I install like Fedora 36 or 37 on my laptop or on my desktop, I do the same thing. I select, well, first of all, there's a server edition and there's a workstation edition nowadays for Fedora. So I always pick the server one, right? And I install the bare server with like you know, no extra bells and whistles. You know, and still, you know, again with no GUI, and then I go in afterwards and I add the GUI myself, you know, and I find that you can you have a lot more control that way over what exactly gets installed and like what services are enabled and yeah, how much system resources, you know, you're going to be taking up. Yeah, it's just all around a better philosophy, I think. It's just, you know, start minimal and just add more as you require. You know, more packages. Look, it's installing SE Linux. Now, this is going to be a little bit controversial, I think, but I disable SE Linux. Not on my modern machines, not on my laptop and desktop and crap, but on the PlayStation 3. Yeah, the PlayStation 3 is a special case. It's, you know, it's more or less an embedded kind of device, and there's no way to add any more like resources to it. Like, you can't add RAM to it, you can't like expand its you know, expand its capabilities. So yeah, on devices with limited system resources, yeah, I have no problem disabling SE Linux, and you know, saving a little bit of system resources that you know are precious on a on a machine like the PS3. And consider that as a computer, it's really only got 256 megabytes of RAM. The PS3. Technically, it has 512 megabytes of SD RAM, but half of that SD RAM is it's kind of like dedicated to the GPU. The NVIDIA RSX GPU. Now the unfortunate thing is, while you're in OtherOS, while you're in Linux on the PlayStation 3, you really don't have any access to that GPU that's on the motherboard, and it kind of hinders your the PS3's capabilities as far as, like, you know, 3D acceleration and gaming and stuff in Linux. You're really not going to be doing you know, too much of that kind of stuff. It's more of a platform for development and, like, networking, and, you know, it's more of like a server lab, you know, than like a Linux gaming computer. It's really unfortunate too, because Sony could change their mind still if they wanted to. At any time, they could re-enable OtherOS on their next firmware update. They could unblock access to the GPU, and a lot of PS3 enthusiasts would find that would be very enthusiastic about them doing that, but that'll never happen. Sony's not opening up anything on the PlayStation 3 anytime in the future, I predict. Hey, our kernel's installing. Look at our kernel number. This is kernel number 2.6.31.5. I know that sounds really old, but it's not like Stone Age. The kernel 2.6 series has most of the most of the major modern improvements that, you know, you still that you know are available in, like, today's kernels, like threading support and SMT, and the important thing is it fully supports the hardware on the PlayStation 3. And we're going to be upgrading this kernel anyway. I'm going to show you how to build your own kernel from the source code, and also how to manually install it onto the system and get it to boot. Really, it's an interesting procedure. It's not that hard. It's the hardest part is the configuration of the kernel that you're gonna build, because, like, if you're not familiar with all the options, then there's, like, a lot of stuff that you're gonna want to look up, like a lot of stuff that you're gonna want to Google until you kind of get the hang of it. Alright, PlayStation 3 is ready to reboot. Let's go ahead and let it reboot. Oops. Okay. Now I have to get my get my fingers ready on the keyboard so I don't miss the countdown. Okay. All right. As you can see, now that there's only one kernel at the top that we can boot, that's because the kernels that were there before have been formatted away. They're totally gone. 1 second, let me take out the USB from the PS3. Alright. Now, this top option here that says Linux, and then, a whole bunch of crap afterwards, after it, that's what we're going to want to boot, but it's misconfigured at the moment. So, first we're going to want to hit E for edit. Now, we're going to go backwards here, and where it says SDA1, that's wrong. Delete that S, it should say PS3 DA1. Like that. Same thing on the second line. Change that SDA1 to PS3 DA1. I'm going to delete these two options here, or these two arguments that say quiet and RHGB. Get rid of those. Basically, that's the difference between a graphical boot up and a text-based boot up. I want to watch the text on the screen. I like to watch my servers boot to see if there's any issues, any problems, anything I need to address. I'm going to add in console blank. Equals 0. And what that does is it tells the kernel not to blank my screen every 10 minutes. Because I find that annoying. It's something that these kernels, I don't think they do it anymore. But yeah, I guess it was very in vogue in the early 2000s to have your Linux screen turn off every 10 minutes. It's ridiculous. So this should stop that. All right. Now we can go ahead and hit enter, and hit enter again to boot that kernel. Now, one more thing that I want to show you in this video is I'm going to show you how to fix that that bootloader argument so that you don't have to go and edit your boot command line every time you reboot. So let me show you how to do that. We're going to log in as root. Make the font a little bit bigger. Oh, maybe I can't. Unless I spelled it wrong. Oh, there we go. Oh, anyway, okay. Yeah, so that we don't have to change the, edit the kernel command line every time we boot. You're going to vi/etc yaboot.conf. This is the file that your petit boot bootloader reads in order to, populate the items on its list of kernels to boot. So this is a very important file on your system. You can delete this line. Now right here's the problem. Can you see it? Where it says /dev/SDA. Change that SDA. Change it to PS3DA. Right? That's the name of your PS3's hard drive device. Now we can actually delete a lot of these lines we don't need. Petit boot doesn't need them. So keep the one that says partition, but the rest of these lines can go. Okay. Now here is all the information from the kernel, boot command line. So we're going to change a couple of things. First off, I'm going to change the label. I've got my own labeling convention that I use. .6.31.5. Yeah, I just call it Fedora, and then I give the name of the number of the kernel. Let's see. And here, where it says append, get rid of RHGB and quiet. As a matter of fact, we can get rid of a lot of these arguments, like this. Yeah, that's better. Here where it says video equals PS3 FB :mode :1669. If your number doesn't say 1669, then you're probably going to want to change it to 1669. That'll give you full 1920 by 1080 resolution with I think the blacks are the proper color, if I'm not mistaken. And if you want to change it to 720p, then change the 9 to a 7. That's pretty much all you need to know. There's more video modes available, but those are the most important ones. 1669 and 1667. So, and I'm going to add my console blank argument. Alright, that should be good for now. I'm going to go ahead and reboot just to make sure that the changes that we made are correct. Looks like all of our services were able to shut down properly. That's good. Such a pretty console, don't you think? I think so. I think the PlayStation 3 is the prettiest console that prettiest game console I've ever owned. I'm probably a little bit biased. All right, let's try this. See where it says Fedora 2.6.31.5. That's because I changed the label of this kernel. Let's see if it boots without any fussing with it. Alright, looks like it's booting. Oh. I think that's that's a lovely place to leave it for this video. I don't really want to make these things super long. I kind of plan to do this as a series, but if you're following along with me, now you have a perfectly bootable Fedora Linux booting on your PlayStation 3. And make sure to tune into my next video where I will show you what package groups I like to install, and we will get our graphical desktop up and working, up and going. Remember I said I use OpenBox and Tint 2? Yeah, that's what we're gonna set up, I think, in the next video. So subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching my video. Have a good night, or good day. Good night.